Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine.
We all make many mistakes. Doctors make many mistakes. If your doctor does not answer your questions, change doctors. My friend Judy had a doctor who thought one of her kidneys had cancer. So he operated, he removed it. But after the surgery, no cancer found in that kidney. So Judy has lived for years with one kidney. Doctors make mistakes. My friend Dan's doctor put Dan on the statin drug, statin, S-T-A-T-I-N, for many years, until Dan found out his neuropathy in his feet, which felt like pins and needles or numbness, was caused by the statin drug. He stopped statin, but sadly still has suffered for years with neuropathy in his feet. Doctors make mistakes. My cousin Zulima's husband was allergic to penicillin. When he went to the hospital, Zulima or her husband told the doctor or nurses he was allergic to penicillin. But in spite of being told, the doctor gave Zulima's husband penicillin, and he died. Doctors make mistakes. My friend Chester's doctor gave Chester a very strong antibiotic drug that destroyed much of his intestinal flora, the many good germs in our intestines that we need for health. And for months afterward, Chester suffered low energy and fatigue. Doctors make mistakes. In 1975, my mother's doctor in Illinois wanted to do surgery to see if she had cancer. We refused. We took my mother to world-famous Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. They did many tests. They found no sign of cancer. They did not do surgery. The team of doctors at Mayo Clinic came into her room. They were honest and humble enough to admit they did not know what was wrong with my mother. They sent my mother home with the vitamin folic acid. Folic acid is a great vitamin that we all need, but one good vitamin is like building a house with one wall only. Later, I wrote to the Illinois doctor who had wanted to do surgery on my very sick mother before we took her to Mayo Clinic. I told him about my mother and the Mayo Clinic in my letter. I told him my very sick mother could have died on his operating table for what? He mailed back my letter and had scribbled on it that he was right in recommending surgery on my mother. What damn dangerous bullshit. Maybe that doctor feared we would sue him or tell other people in our community, he was a local doctor, about his dangerous advice that could have killed my mother. Doctors make mistakes. A woman friend suffered several cancers for years. Her cancer doctor told her not to eat nutritious food when she was taking chemotherapy. Cancer patients, especially when they're on chemotherapy, need to eat the most nutritious food possible in order to live. Sadly, she followed the cancer doctor's wrong advice not to eat nutritious food when she was taking chemotherapy. Sadly, my friend died. When I was 28, I had surgery on the retinas of both my eyes. 10 weak spots or holes on the one, 13 on the other. I was terrified, absolutely terrified, of going blind. My mother had surgery 2 times for retina detachment at the University Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. My mother and I both had diabetic retinopathy. I was severely addicted to sugar as a kid and in my 20s. Ice cream, cookies, pie, cake, candy. As far as I remember, no nurse asked my mother, who had been severely addicted to sugar also for many, many years, no nurse asked my mother or me what we were eating. It'd be like taking your vehicle to a mechanic when it isn't running right, and the mechanic not inquiring what you're putting in the fuel tank. Our serious eye disease, my mother's and mine, diabetic retinopathy, was caused largely by our severe addiction to sugar shit. Doctors make mistakes. We all make many mistakes. I'm taping this program on Tuesday, March 1st. I do not know what the situation will be in Russia's war against Ukraine when you see this program. I compliment Pope Francis for going to the Russian embassy to oppose Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Sadly, over 100 years ago, the Russian Orthodox Church largely supported the bloody, brutal, greedy czars that ruled Russia. Putin has strongly supported the anti-gay Russian Orthodox Church. Do any Russian Orthodox leaders now have the courage and the conscience to damn publicly Putin's war against Ukraine? If Putin continues his evil war against Ukraine, millions of people worldwide may hate and fear the Russian government as much as they hate and fear the U.S. government for its many wars for decades. I damn Putin's increased nuclear alert, risking nuclear war, and I damn U.S. presidents threatening to use nuclear bombs at least 30 2 times since the U.S. atom bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. I damn all war by any nation. I damn Putin's mass murder in Ukraine. And I damn the U.S. mass murder of tens of thousands of women and children in Iraq some years ago. Do we remember? Do we care? Are U.S. mass murders in war less evil than Putin's mass murder in war? I damn Putin's bloody invasion of Ukraine, and I damn the U.S. mass murder of many hundreds of thousands of women and kids in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. I damn Putin's mass murders in Ukraine, and I damn the U.S. supplying billions of dollars and weapons to Israel to murder hundreds of Palestinian boys and girls. I damn Putin's mass murder in Ukraine, and I damn the U.S. mass murder of tens of thousands of women and kids in El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala in the 1980s. I damn Putin's war in Ukraine, and I damn Obama's murder by drones of many women and kids in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Yemen. Putin's war against Ukraine is fueling hatred and revenge against the Russian government. The U.S. mass murder of millions in many nations under both Republican and Democrat presidents fuels hatred and revenge toward the U.S. government. As Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. said almost 55 years ago, the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government. Now notice, Martin Luther King did not say the U.S. is the only purveyor of violence in the world. Many nations, including now Russia, commit horrendous evil. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government. The United States is constantly telling other nations to shape up, but sadly, the U.S. refuses to stop stealing and murdering millions for decades. Absolute bloody hypocrisy. The United States claims to be the best. It's like a man who says he is the best husband, but he beats his wife even worse than other husbands beat their wives. I wish nations and companies had sanctioned the U.S. for its wars as they are now doing to the Russian government. God is not going to stop the climate crisis. We human beings caused the climate crisis. And billions of people praying to God is not going to stop the climate crisis. It's too late now to stop the climate crisis, but we can slow the climate crisis if we wake up, if we make huge changes now in how we live, We cannot stop the climate crisis, but we can slow the climate crisis if we change what we eat away from the meat and the dairy, because agriculture is one of the major causes of the climate crisis. If we change how and how much we travel, how many children we have, if we start enjoying living much more simply, we cannot stop the climate crisis. But with action now, we can slow the climate crisis. God is not going to prevent nuclear war. Did God stop the United States from atom bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, in 1945, mass murdering 140,000 people? The United States, sadly, is the only nation so far on earth that has atom-bombed cities. Natural health books disagree sometimes. But even if I disagree with someone on most of what he or she says, whether it be on health or whatever, I still often can learn some important things from that person. Even if I disagree on 95%, that other 5%, if my mind and my heart are open, may teach me new things that I never learned before. It's like buying a pair of shoes. Try them on, see if they fit. And so try out living something you read in a health book. See if it works for you. And remember, when we make good changes to live more healthy, for a while, sometimes weeks, months, even years, depending how long we were on the wrong track, for a while, we may feel worse because our body is trying to get rid of all that damn poison for all those years. It's kind of like going into a dirty room that has not been lived in for many years. When you first start cleaning, stirring up the dust, for a while it may actually look worse than when you walked into that deserted room. Same way with our bodies. So don't get scared off if you know you're making good changes in how you live and still not feeling great yet. And here are 3 health books, all of them in our public library in Albuquerque. This one, How Not to Die, by Michael Greger, Gregor, a medical doctor, about what to eat and what not to eat and how to live to help prevent and treat 15 leading causes of death, including a bunch of different cancers, in the United States. Now, Michael Greger, MD, is not saying if you follow what this book says, you're not going to die. No, he's not saying that. He's saying if you follow what he says, you have a much better chance of living healthy almost till the day you die. and avoiding the suffering of those 15 different conditions that millions and millions and millions of people in this country and in the world suffer. How Not to Die by Michael Grigger, MD. And also, if you go on the internet, he has a very popular website called nutritionfacts.org. nutritionfacts.org. So, how to live to a healthy old age before we die. And then this book, Beating Cancer with Nutrition, by Patrick Quillin, Quillin, PhD. And he makes very clear that sugar feeds cancer. Sugar feeds cancer. So, if you want to prevent cancer or treat cancer that you already have, stop eating anything containing processed added sugar. And a couple things from his book here. Florence Nightingale, who was founder of modern nursing, said in 1900, "Nature alone cures. Nature alone cures." The famous nurse, Florence Nightingale. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said in 400 BC, "Natural forces within us are the true healers." Antoine Béchamp, who was a medical doctor and a PhD, said in 1900, "Germs do not cause disease in the real sense. Something happens in the body to allow the germs to become invasive." Albert Schweitzer, a medical doctor and a Nobel laureate, said in 1940, "Each patient carries his or her own doctor inside." Louis Pasteur, who was a founder of microbiology, in 1895 said on his deathbed, "The germ is nothing, the terrain is everything." In other words, if one's body is really healthy, we can usually fight off germs of whatever kind. Thomas Edison, who had over 1,000 patents, said, the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will involve the patient in the proper use of food, fresh air, and exercise. What wise words. Imagine if everybody lived that way. Also from this book, Beating Cancer with Nutrition, green tea. And that's one of the over 25 ingredients in my blended smoothies every day. Green tea can prevent and reverse some forms of cancer. Green tea has some caffeine, but not as much as coffee. I drink no coffee. Many years ago, when I was a truck driver, I was severely addicted to coffee. I look forward to the truck stops to drink coffee, much like a heroin addict does to the needle. But I stopped coffee, and I highly recommend green tea. And you might combine it with some peppermint to make a tea. But I don't heat. I put the green tea leaves in my smoothie. And some of the best seasonings to treat cancer and to prevent cancer are garlic and ginger, hot peppers, great herbs. Beating Cancer with Nutrition by Patrick Quillin, Quillin, PhD, in our library. And then a book that my longtime friend, who is a doctor near Houston, Texas, he lives near Houston, practices there, he recommended this book to me that I guess, well, I definitely had never checked out of the library. I might have heard the author interviewed many months ago on radio, but it's entitled Complications. Complications. And this author is Atul, A-T-U-L, Gawande, G as in go, A-W-A-N-D-E. He is a medical doctor and a surgeon. Complications. And again, my longtime friend Raul, originally from Guatemala, recommended this book to me. And I compliment this man's honesty about mistakes that surgeons make. And a couple quotes from the book. Consider some other surgical mishaps. In one, a general surgeon left a large metal instrument in a patient's abdomen, where it tore through the bowel and the wall of the bladder. In another, a cancer surgeon biopsied the wrong part of a woman's breast and thereby delayed her diagnosis of cancer for months. A cardiac surgeon skipped a small but key step during a heart valve operation, thereby killing the patient. A general surgeon saw a man racked with abdominal pain in the emergency room, and without taking a CT scan, assumed that the man had a kidney stone. 18 hours later, a scan showed a rupturing abdominal aortic aneurysm, and the patient died not long afterward. And this book, as I said, written by a medical doctor who is a surgeon, but who dares to tell the truth. Doctors make mistakes. We all, as human beings, make many mistakes. The core predicament of medicine, he says, the thing that makes being a patient so wrenching, being a doctor so difficult, and being part of a society that pays the bills they run up so vexing, is uncertainty. You know, it's called medical practice. Medical practice. And the uncertainty of it can kill us. With all that we know nowadays about people and diseases and how to diagnose and treat them, it can be hard to see this, hard to grasp how deeply uncertainty runs. As a doctor, you come to find, however, that the struggle in caring for people is more often with what you do not know as a doctor than what you do. Medicine's ground state is uncertainty, and wisdom for both patients and doctors is defined by how one copes with that uncertainty. Complications. I highly recommend it. The New York Times best-selling author Frank Lipman, who is a medical doctor, warns that the statin drug that I mentioned earlier with my friend Dan, who suffered neuropathy after years of taking statin, the statin drug that millions of people in this country take can cause muscle and joint aches, nausea, diarrhea, and constipation, cocks not getting hard, more risk of diabetes, more risk of dementia, liver problems, memory loss, brain fog, less energy, more risk of cataracts, suicide, violence toward others. The New York Times best-selling author, Frank Lipman, Lipmann, who is a medical doctor, warns that the statin drug that millions take in the United States can cause those awful conditions. So get off statins, but do it very gradually, not all at once, and find a nutritionally oriented doctor who will help you get off statins safely and will treat the condition that supposedly statin was to treat, but treat that condition nutritionally and in a healthy way, not this damn drug statin. So dangerous. I condemn kids shooting kids or adults, but adults are largely the cause. Largely the cause. Kids do not own the gun factories. Kids do not own the gun stores. Kids do not write and produce and act in the evil U.S. movies that glamorize guns. Kids do not write, produce, and act in the evil U.S. movies that glamorize settling problems with guns. Kids are not the mayors, the business owners, the state and city officials who say nothing publicly against the evil movies made in New Mexico, movies glorifying guns and murder. Kids are not the adult actors of all colors, who get filthy rich poisoning kids' minds with violence, making the kids think this is the way to live. This is fun. This is cool. Insane. And where are the state and the city officials who have the balls to absolutely condemn such movies? No matter how many dollars and jobs they bring to New Mexico. It's poison for the minds of kids and adults. Kids are not the parents who own guns. Kids are not the parents who love guns. Yes, kids who shoot and kill need to change, of course, but even more so, the adults who are even more responsible for kids' gun violence. Doug, a U.S. Vietnam veteran, said, "I hope you can see the hell I live through every day. My experience has left me a very lonely person. I have no real friends. I don't think I ever will until I find peace within myself. I hope that someday I will be able to forgive myself." Doug, a U.S. Vietnam veteran. And how many Russian soldiers in the future may look back and say the same thing about their war against Ukraine? Even worse than COVID is war fever. A mother has war fever when she believes the military recruiter will make her son a better person by enslaving him in the nation's most violent gang. A fan in the sports stadium has war fever when he or she gets excited and feels patriotic pride when a U.S. jet bomber flies over the stadium to open the football season. War fever, worse than COVID. Millions of men and women have war fever when they enjoy watching war movies, when they own and love guns, when they play violent video games. Millions of men and women have war fever when they choose to be ignorant and silent about the many U.S. war crimes worldwide for decades. I thank my friend Gina for her warm hugs and for this scarf and hat. See the beautiful scarf and hat that she gave me and that her mother crocheted. Thanks, Gina. And for the warm hugs the day you gave me these recently. I thank Salem, who sells at the flea market, for her warm hugs. I thank Gabriel, who sells at the flea market, for her warm hug and for having her dad take a photo of her and me recently. I thank many, many people for their hugs, the selfies, the photos of me, the honks, the compliments, the gifts of money and food. A million thanks to all of you. And I thank the woman, I don't even know her name right off, who works at the flea market. And she came up to me the other day and she said she wanted a hug. I love that. I love that. I love to hug people who enjoy hugging me. Beautiful. Churches say God is a spirit. But what is a spirit? If God is a spirit with no sex organs, why do most believers refer to God as male? He, him, his. If God is good and cares for all people fairly, how can God watch millions of people for thousands of years suffer cancer, war, starvation, hurricanes, earthquakes, family violence, and much more? How can God watch such misery and not help, especially when millions beg God for help? You know, if God is real, which I no longer believe, but instead of asking, can God forgive us for the evils we do? The more important question is, can we forgive God for being deaf and doing nothing to help millions who are suffering? Why does God want people to worship and praise Him often and fervently? Is God insecure? Does God get mad and raise hell on earth? You know, many centuries ago, I guess some people before modern science believed that thunder was an angry God. Most churches say we human beings are evil sinners, deserving punishment, even hell, torture, with no pardon, no parole, forever. Many sermons and books try to explain how an all-powerful, fair, loving God refuses to help millions of suffering people. But no one on earth can explain that. How would we ever know for sure if God answered our prayers, or if something we prayed for would have happened anyway? How can we ever know for sure? Why do most people in the United States believe in heaven after death when there is no proof heaven exists? Now, don't get me wrong. I would be wonderfully surprised if after I die, I found out there is a much better place and I would be reunited with all my loved ones there. But I strongly doubt that is true. So why bullshit ourselves? Why pretend when we don't know? Why does God want us to treat each other better than God treats millions of people in natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, birth defects? Some churches teach if a child dies before the age of accountability, maybe 7 years old, old enough to choose right from wrong, some churches teach that child will not go to hell. Well, if God is fair, and if God loves all people equally, and if God knows how people will decide for or against God when they grow up, and who then would go to heaven or hell according to what churches teach, Why does God not kill as children all people God knows will decide against God later in life and go to hell? It all makes no sense. It's crazy. It all makes no sense. A child taught by parents to believe in God often feels that he or she must believe this crap or risk losing the parents' love, favor, and care. And it took me years, many years, with much help from many people to realize no one is up there. No one is up there. No all-knowing, no all-loving, no all-powerful God to believe in, to pray to. And that was a huge shock for me. Lonely, terrifying in the massive universe. Because I sincerely swallowed, I spread false advertising for God for many years. If I had not been taught this religion as a child, would I, as an adult, have fallen for this make-believe bullshit? I wasted thousands of hours in church services, majoring in Bible in college, reading religious books, thinking about the Bible. I wasted many thousands of hours. Hitler said, "What good fortune for those in power that people do not think." Now get that. Hitler said, "What good fortune for those in power that people do not think." And that applies not only to Nazi Germany, but to the United States, to Russia, to people in countries all over the world, whether they be communist or capitalist dictatorships. Hitler knew that most Germans back then were religious, and they were used to swallowing crazy crap. And so Hitler saw that most of them could fall and follow his evil crap, his lies. And sadly, most churches and Sunday school classes do not welcome deep questions. Certain things are never said, never openly questioned in most churches and Sunday school classes. Most churches do not say that a person can be an honest, caring, responsible person even if he or she does not believe in God. Pressuring children to believe in God is child abuse. Many people pressured as children to believe in God stay caged and trapped in religion until death. They never feel free to question deeply their faith or the Bible or many other things in life. I was drunk on religion. I was drunk on religion and the Bible for many years. And I apologize for addicting people to religion. I was very sincere, but I was sincerely wrong. Deeply questioning the religion from our childhood, whatever that religion happens to be, not just Christianity, can open the door in our minds of the cage, the box, the trap, to question many other things in life. Our government's actions, U.S. history, modern medicine, sexual taboos, racial injustices, why people want much more money, much more stuff than they need, why the American dream is actually a nightmare for the survival of human beings and plants and animals on the earth. So deeply questioning the religion from our childhood, whatever religion that is, can open the door in our mind to question many other things. Men, if you enjoy having a woman or a man suck your cock and take your cum, taste your cum sometimes when you're pleasuring yourself alone. If we're healthy, if we eat only healthy food, if we do not drink booze, if we do not smoke cigarettes, if we do not take prescription drugs or street drugs, if we do not work around dangerous chemicals, our cum should taste good. Our cum is nutritious. And I remember many years ago in Virginia, I had sex with a college student, and his cum tasted awful. Awful, horrible. But maybe he never knew it. If he never tasted his cum, and if no one he had sex with told him, and I did not tell him. So if you enjoy having a woman or a man suck your cock and take your cum, be sure to taste it sometimes to see what you are giving them. Women and men, take the cum only of men who live healthy. Poisons from a smoker's cigarettes are in his cum. No matter how good looking, how kind, how dependable he is. And I've had many friends who smoke cigarettes, but I do not recommend taking their cum. I remember my bisexual friend Herman here in Albuquerque, who died years ago in his 90s. He greatly enjoyed sucking men off. Herman said their cum was like a milkshake. Well, I no longer drink milkshakes because of the sugar and the milk, but I get what he means. An allergy to a certain food can cause almost any reaction. I have an allergy to citrus fruit, especially oranges. And months ago, oranges gave me a blister on my ass cheek. And recently, when I ate 5 oranges at the flea market that a friend gave me, the soles of my feet, especially my left foot, burned like hell as I walked. And if 6 people are allergic to a certain food, they all may have different symptoms. So now I know I have an allergy, at least for the time being, to citrus fruit, especially oranges. So I'm not going to eat them. Why suffer? Try cutting out certain foods for 1 or 2 weeks and see if you feel better or worse. And some of the foods most likely to cause allergies, these aren't the only ones, but these are some that are most likely to cause allergies, are cheese, milk, chocolate, cola, peanuts, citrus, nuts, corn, wheat, eggs, shellfish, pork, strawberries, and beef. Corn or wheat in some form are in almost all processed foods in cans, boxes, or packages. Some people suffer for years from food allergies, not knowing they're allergic to one of the foods they eat the most. Food allergies can cause breathing problems, dizziness. Food allergies can cause pains in our joints. Food allergies can cause hyperactivity in kids, severe stress, headaches, stomach cramps, diarrhea, brain fog, memory problems, trouble sleeping. Food allergies can cause any of those symptoms. And for most of us, nuts are excellent food if they're raw, not roasted, not salted, and if they're shelled just before eating. But don't shell them and then let them sit around, because the fats in those healthy nuts can go rancid. They can go bad if they sit around, if they're not eaten soon after they are being shelled. Nelson Mandela of South Africa said, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." An African proverb says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa said, nuclear weapons are an obscenity. They're the very opposite of humanity, of goodness in the world. What security do they help establish? Good night.
Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine